the all-decade teams by the NBA were released. And it's important to understand that these are opinionated decisions created by NBA staff, analysts, scouts, all that stuff. And it's not an actual official honor or award. So if you have any disagreements with it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it too much. It's okay. This is the world of sports. I understand. I get intense about things sometimes when I'm really, really passionate about it, and I get really, really intense, and I want to argue a whole lot when things come out like Phillip Rivers is not one of the best quarterbacks of all time, or something like that, or he's not a Hall of Famer, and I really want to get upset and argue about it. But in the end, it's all opinionated, so you can't really. You gotta just calm down. All right. So the way it's set up is that you have 2 guards and 3 forwards for each team. First team, second team, third team. And it's all based off the stats and accolades from the 2009-2010 season. That's important. 2009 season all the way to this last season, 2018. It's important to make that clear to people because then you have different championships at different times, which can bring in other people or embellish some of the resumes of some of these people in this decade. So just to be clear again, the 2009-2010 season, where the Lakers won their back-to-back, all the way up to the 2018-2019 season, where the Raptors won the whole thing. It's important to note that. So let's go on. All right, the first team has Stephen Curry, James Harden, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. Now, it's hard for me to really move anyone off this list from first team to second team or third team or off the list in general. They're not going off the list. We all know what these players have done. They've all won MVP except for Kawhi Leonard, who's won 2 Finals MVP. So they've all won championships except for James Harden. Their resumes are pretty good. They've all been historic. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to go into depth of each individual player. Second team, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, Carmelo Anthony. The only player on this list that has won an MVP award has been Russell Westbrook. Now, Anthony Davis has been in discussions for MVP. But aside from that, all these other players, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, Carmelo Anthony, are all for sure Hall of Famers. For sure Hall of Famers. We know that they're going in the Hall of Fame. And then the third team, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Paul George, Marcus Aldridge, Giannis Antetokounmpo. For LaMarcus Aldridge, it's more of, is he on the verge of a Hall of Famer? Maybe, maybe not. Is he quite there? Maybe, maybe not. For Giannis, he didn't really become who he is until this year and the year before, so the last 2 seasons of this decade. Did he really become the Giannis that we really know now? The Greek Freak, as people call him. So you can't really put him all the way up there. Now, this next decade, yes, he'll be up there in the first team. And then Dwayne Wade, again, this decade in his prime for half of it, and then out of his prime for the other half of it. So you can't really put him on level of Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. Paul George dealt with multiple injuries that kept him out of the league, or not league, but season, but kept him out for a couple of seasons, in and out of games, in and out of lineups and seasons, really. And again, he didn't really become that great guy, and I wouldn't really put him above Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, or Blake Griffin on that level for this past year, because he really hasn't done too much in the playoffs, just like these other guys. So you can't really compare them, and when the numbers show it, these guys are better than Paul George. So it all brings down to Kobe Bryant. Should he be moved up to the second team? Because I like where he is on the third team. I like where he is. But should we move him up to the second team? And that would mean replacing Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. So let's go down the resumes. Kobe Bryant, NBA champion on that 2009-2010 season, won it. Also won Finals MVP, getting the narrative of a back-to-back champion, and going into the next season looking for that second three-peat. Didn't get it, but still got back-to-back championships, which is really good. But only one of those championships is going to be counted on this list. He's a 7-time NBA All-Star for that decade, 4-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, and 1-time All-Defensive Second Team. He is the youngest to score 26,000 points and then 27,000 points. He's one of 7 players at that time to get 25,000 points, 5,000 rebounds, and 5,000 assists. So again, historic. That comes more on the end of his career. But let's be real. He really only had a good 3 to 4 years where he was Kobe-esque, where he was one of the best players in the league. But then after that, after the 2012 season, it got all derailed by injuries, Achilles injuries, and some other injuries also. And so, if a third of the years of the decade are really good and the rest are really bad, it's hard for me to put him up in the second team slot. And that's okay. It becomes more like a Giannis Antetokounmpo situation, except reverse. Giannis had the past 2-3 years be really, really good. Well, probably past 2 years and a bit of the third. Be really, really good, but before that, no one really knew him. They had an idea of who he was, and we're like, oh, that's Giannis, the kid with the really long last name from Greece. But no one paid him much mind. And that's kind of the same case with Kobe right here, where just first few seasons of the decade, he was amazing. But then after that, injuries took him off for the next 3 years, and then he eventually retired, and that was the end of Kobe. And then we look at Chris Paul. He was, for this whole decade, or majority of this decade, he was regarded as the best point guard in the league until, of course, Stephen Curry stepped in and completely changed the game. And at that point, Chris Paul was like, oh, is he the second best or third best or a top 5 for sure? And during that time, he was a 4-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time Second Team, 1-time Third Team. And then defensively, he was insane, 6-time Defensive First Team and 1-time Defensive Second Team, 2-time Assist Leader, 4-time Steals Leader, regarded as one of the best traditional point guards ever. Beat because of his resume during this decade. And then Russell Westbrook, it'll be hard to dock him off from the second team to the third team because he's had the MVP this decade, 8-time All-Star, 2-time NBA First Team, 5-time Second Team, 1-time Third Team, 2-time Scoring Champion, 2-time Assist Leader, and he's done what no one else has done, which is average a triple-double for 3 years in a row. Yes, you can say that, oh, he's stat padding, but come on, triple-double, 3 years in a row. It's insane nonetheless. So do I think that Kobe's numbers, career-wise, are better than them? Yes. Kobe for sure. If you're taking it from the career, from career-wise, yeah, first team All-NBA career would be probably MJ, Kobe, LeBron or Larry, Tim Duncan, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Or maybe Bill Russell, one of them. Career-wise. But this past decade, Kobe's more on the same kind of level of Giannis Antetokounmpo, where it puts him in the third team because he didn't really play for a majority of the decade. And when he did play, he had half of the time a good season and the other half injuries that really derailed his career at the end. So that being said, no, Kobe does not deserve to be moved up into the All-NBA second team moved up into the All-NBA or All-Decade second team. Instead is right where he should be on the All-Decade third team.